So I don't know if you saw this. This is Taylor Lorenz.
Got a few fans in the audience. Didn't see that coming.
So now Taylor Lorenz is, she's from millionaires, right? She's from privilege. Her father, go ahead.
Yeah, she went to a $90,000 a year Swiss boarding school. She is from Old Greenwich, Connecticut, which is the old money.
You could tell by the t-shirt.
You're not just attacking her, Jimmy. You're attacking that dog.
So, and her father, am I wrong, or her uncle?
Okay, so this, as somebody did an investigation into her family history, it's
the
not
quartering, right?
What's that?
The quartering, was that the?
Well, the quartering covered it.
Okay.
The person who actually did it has been pulled off Twitter, and Elon did not let him back on. But he did a long thing about how all of these supposedly progressive left journalists, they're these incredibly rich kids, and this is the thing. They are rich enough to get their family history scrubbed from the internet, and particularly Taylor Lorenz. So if you look up Taylor Lorenz, you can't find shit about her.
Yeah.
But according to this, her sister works at CNN. Her family is descended from a powerful politician, and her uncle is in control of the Wayback Machine, or one of the people in control.
The internet's Wayback Machine. Her uncle controls it, which is why you can't find shit. Whenever she deletes a tweet, it's deleted.
It's deleted. It's gone.
Yeah.
You cannot find it in the Wayback Machine.
And she can, so here, let's listen to what she said about journalism. Here's what she had to say.
Our journalism industry is basically in a free fall. Today, the Los Angeles Times laid off 115 employees. They wiped out their entire DC bureau.
And by the way, by journalists, I think she means the usual stenographers to power who wear shaggy t-shirts and can name all three Jonas Brothers.
In an election year. They laid off pretty much all of their sports teams. They killed their entire tech and business section. They laid off breaking news writers, social media editors. The list goes on. But what's really dark is this is just the latest in months and months and months of layoffs in the media industry. In fact, tens of thousands of journalists have been laid off in the past year. Major media companies like BuzzFeed News have completely shuttered their news operations. Time Magazine also just laid off a ton of people, and Sports Illustrated basically shut down last week. Pretty much the entire digital media ecosystem that myself and a lot of other millennial journalists came up in has been completely hollowed out. And it's not just digital media sites. Local news has been...
Yeah, you guys aren't journalists, right? She acts like they're honeybees. Oh my God, we're losing the honeybees. You guys are bullshit. You guys have been, to quote my friend Russ, you guys have been feeding people shit and telling them it's ice cream for the last 30 fucking years, and they don't have any use for you anymore. You're not useful. Glenn Greenwald said, journalism, if it isn't read, it's not good journalism. Only good journalism gets read. If you're not poets, it's like somebody's not going to find your news article in 20 years and go, wow, this is really fantastic, right? So anyway, here we go. So they're not sure, just you punctuate, you don't pollinate. You're not really important to the ecosystem.
And Sports Illustrated, she mentioned Sports Illustrated. Okay, if there was ever a magazine whose readership would not be into the trans swimsuit model, would not be into the morbidly obese Tess Holliday on the cover, it is the people who pick up Sports Illustrated. You cannot, and this is
you can't force feed people an obese bikini model and think they're gonna fucking go along with it and still buy your magazine. It's over, right?
That's it. It's. I don't know if in American history, elite attitudes and tastes have ever been this disconnected from the great mass of people, and that's why all of these media outlets are collapsing, as Glenn points out. Who the hell wants to be lectured to by a bunch of elite snobs who clearly hate the public that they're writing for?
She mentioned BuzzFeed. I'm sorry, BuzzFeed.
And I was like, is that major media?
They do have quizzes.
Right? And then it's like for me, you know, I'm a dog owner, and it's a real tragedy that newspapers are going out of print because what am I going to use when she needs to poop on it? Close up on dog.
She's doing
She's got more to say. Let's watch.
Oh, I'm looking forward to
The
it.
newspaper industry is cratering. Radio is essentially dead, aside from NPR, which has been gutted. Meanwhile, hundreds of workers at Condé Nast, the parent company of pretty much every major magazine from GQ to Vogue to The New Yorker to Vanity Fair, are on strike because they're also facing impending layoffs. Even mainstream national media outlets owned by billionaires like The Washington Post, where I work, and The Atlantic, where I used to work, have done layoffs. If you're a young journalist today, there's almost no on-ramp to traditional journalism. Even if you do get a job, journalists' salaries have been stagnant and even declined. And by the way, we don't make that much to begin with. I don't think people understand how bad the world would be without journalists.
Okay, I think I do know what the world would be like without journalists like her. I think every morning I'd wake up and an animated bluebird would land on my shoulder and we'd all break out into song.
Well, the Bluebird's looking for work ever since X.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, they talk about the useless class. Very well said, somebody in the audience. The modern day journalist who works for corporate media. There's no more useless class than these people. Her biggest story was that she doxes regular people, right? She had the libs of TikTok. She figured out who had that Twitter account or the TikTok account, and she doxed her. And then her other big get was she heard somebody on a call-in show use the word retard, and she got the person wrong. The guy didn't say it, and so they had to correct
Mark
her.
Andreessen.
Yeah. So this is, and you know what?
And she went after Kellyanne Conway's 15-year-old daughter.
This is who she is. This isn't journalism. They're not doing. If they were doing journalism, people would watch. You know who they are watching? They're watching shows like this. That's what they're watching.
You know, Jimmy,
Because we're not begging for the military-industrial complex to fucking fund us, so I can actually tell the truth about Ukraine, Afghanistan, Gaza, Syria, and the next goddamn war they start, Taiwan and China, no one needs this shit anymore. And this is talk about fucking entitlement class. Her and that Carlos Maza, you remember that? He also came from millionaire stock and went to $100,000 a year university, and then he eventually got fired by Vox. Did you know that? Yeah. And then he started his own YouTube channel, which is, I just think, taking off. My God. Everybody's like, what does Maza have to say?
you know, Jimmy, some people don't realize that without real journalists, there wouldn't be journalism. How bad is it that Taylor Lorenz is the victim? But we all know the real victim is
Israel. Shalom.
And she's talking about how little she gets paid.
Yes.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I know she gets paid little. Look at that tiny little mic.
That's another thing. She's trying to dress down and project that she's this struggling journalist from old Greenwich. But everything that she's saying just demonstrates how out of touch she is, because if anything, we're going through a renaissance in journalism because of outlets like Substack.
That's right.
Schellenberger is doing great work. Matt Taibbi, Glenn Greenwald. There's great investigative journalism out there. It's just not in the outlets that she works for.
Well, now, I often confuse the two words journalist and narcissist all the time.
Yeah.
Happens all the time.
The problem is that, Taylor, you were designed to play to a young crowd, and then they grew up, and you fucking didn't, okay? Now, they moved on, and I'd say good for them, they moved on. All right.
Learn to code.
Well, you know what I don't need? I don't need journalists like this, people who do stuff like that. Mocking anti-vaxxers, COVID's death is ghoulish, yes, but it may be necessary. You know what I like? I like what Ed Wokeness says. Mocking mass layoffs at the LA Times is ghoulish, yes, but it's also fucking necessary. Okay, so we need to hear what Glenn has to say.
Is it here?
How about, this is my favorite. This is from a couple of years ago. This is when they were screwing over Jeremy Corbyn and lying about him as an anti-Semite in the press to get rid of him. And here's what this guy had to say.
What do you want to happen now? What do you think?
What do I want to happen? I want it to be a revolution in this country. I say fuck the media, fuck the mainstream. You don't deserve to be there. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, we should be campaigning not to government, but to the BBC, who acts as mouthpieces for this corrupt government. You know what I mean? People need a revolution in this country, nothing short of that. And if it was any other country, they'd have done been a revolution. We've seen how you, the mainstream media, have responded and reacted. For 2 years, you've hounded, demonized Jeremy Corbyn. And you said he was unelectable. He can't be, there's no possibility of this man being elected. And you created that narrative that people actually believed your bullshit for a while. But what this election has done is shown that people are immune. They're in bulletproof vests to you and the other billionaire sort of media owners and Rupert Murdoch and all those other motherfuckers. They've been immune to that shit there. And that is the vote of confidence, not in terms of Jeremy Corbyn, but it dismisses May, but it also stands up to you as the mainstream media. I say you personally, but I'm identifying you as the mainstream media. Do you understand what I'm saying here? I'm saying identify as the mainstream media. You are motherfuckers. You are a bunch of motherfuckers. I like you too. I like you too. I like you fried, boiled, and which way.
Hey, come see us do a live stand-up show. We're going to be in Omaha, Des Moines, Milwaukee, Lansing, Michigan, Bend, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, Philadelphia, Avenel, New Jersey, Boston, Palm Springs, and more. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets. See you at a live show.